Hello and welcome to the first video of the U.S. International Law Institute channel. In this space, we intend to analyze the world's most complex legal issues in precise, documented, and practical language. If you are a law student, a researcher of international relations, international law, or simply you are interested in understanding how world events are going, this channel is your new home for deep legal analysis. As a first step, today we have approached a fundamental question. In a world where the sound of guns, the smell of gunpowder, and the sound of diplomacy are mixed together, as you see in many news, where exactly does international law stand? Where exactly does international law stand? Is it a tool for peace or it is only a mask for power? At our institute, our view of law is one of instrumentology and technique for problem solving. According to Article 33 of the UN Charter, you may know it, the states have a toolbox for peace. Yeah, toolbox for peace. In future video on this channel, we'll examine each of these methods, from diplomatic negotiations where the art of bargaining reigns to judicial methods like the International Court of Justice, ICJ, where the logic of law triumphs the logic of power. Here is the big difference. When it comes to the Hague Court, it is no longer about proposals. It is only about binding rules. It is only about binding judgment. Stay with me, and first let me point out the advantage and triumph of international law. Let's first look at a real life example of triumph of international law over geography. I want to say something first. Let's look at what is better, what is best, what we can say advantages, which is the border dispute between two countries, Peru and Chile, in 2014. Imagine two countries facing each other over a vast expanse of ocean that is the lifeblood of their economies. In centuries past, this would have been the spark for a full-scale war. However, modern international law has provided an alternative path with the Convention of the Law of the Sea, UNCLOS, in brief, it is called. By drawing a fair line, the court ended decades of tension between the two countries. So you're going to see how international law can help countries to solve problems, to solve tensions, to prevent from war. Yeah, so We cannot see international law and say that only international law doesn't work. It works. Like any legal system, it works and it doesn't work. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. It depends on many circumstances. This is the example that I mentioned. This is where we see how international law can prevent bloodshed and achieve a solution with at least less for humanity, and in a better case, a win-win solution. So at least by international law, we can reach to less loss for humanity, and in a better way, in a better case, a win-win solution. Of course, we are trying to reach a better solution, which means win-win solution. But sometimes we can say only we prevent from a bloodshed. We can say only we try to stop war, to stop fighting, to stop some tensions. It's going to work. Many international rulings are implemented in countries. We see that. And their news is not widely reported in the media. There are many conventions that are completed, that are achieved in many countries. Many actions are based on international conventions, but usually you don't see them in the media, but they are. So actually, I want to say something that anyway, many actions are based on international law, but you don't see them. You don't see them. They are not in media. When we see the media, just we hear what we hear. We hear that, okay, wars. We hear tensions. We hear fights. And we think that, okay, there is no international law. But it's not true. It's not true. International law is working, but not in all fields, like any judicial system in any country. Maybe it works, and in some fields, in some areas, it doesn't work. So international law, like other internal legal system, may work well and may not work well. We can't escape, I'm sure that, and you probably you agree with me, we can't escape the bitter realities in this channel. I know, you know, I know that you know. International law does not always win. That's a fact. Indeed, when the feet of great powers and the veto right in the Security Council come into the picture, the law faces serious challenges. Is that true? Yes, it's true. When the issue of implementing international rulings arises, international law also faces shortcomings in its implementation. There are signs of weakening the position of international law, but this does not mean that it collapses or becomes irrelevant. No, it's not true. What has happened is more of a crisis of international law enforcement. International law enforcement, not and not its own disappearance. It exists. We see that, but sometimes it cannot be enforced. International law has more of a soft enforcement and is weak against great powers. That's true. In fact, sometimes the field and political realities have pushed international law back. And sometimes the social realities and political systems in countries have pushed the progress and implementation of international law back. There are historical cases in this regard, and when examining them, we must answer the question why are some international rulings not enforced? That's a very big question. But it is not only about international law. Maybe you find some rulings in any legal system that it cannot be enforced. What I'm going to say is this. We can study international law, but don't be disappointed. Don't become frustrated. International law is like other legal systems. They may work, and in some fields they are not working. They don't work well. Now the question is issuing an unenforced ruling useless? I believe not. I will explain about this later. We will see how these rulings destroy the political legitimacy. That's the point of a state in the world's public opinion. Anyway, now we see that public opinion is going to expand it in many areas, and it's going to affect many politicians. So international law is not perfect. Yes, we believe that. And it still has a lot of room for development because it is a man-made. It is a man-made. It has been created. It has been made by us. But it is the only common language that prevents the world from falling into absolute chaos. Yeah. You're gonna have to have international law, because if you don't have it, it means that you're falling into a absolute chaos. Do you want chaos? No, we don't want it. So we have to use this common language, to use it, and do our best to improve it. Do our best to improve it. International law is not a magic that will make wars disappear. No, it's not so. Bring criminals to justice. May bring some of them, may not bring some of them. And establish justice. Justice. In any legal system, you may find justice and you may not find justice. Justice is something else. But we need international law for order, for international order. It is a compass. And without international law, the world would revert to the law of the jungle. Its place is in resolving tensions, prevent wars, try to resolve crises, imposing costs on the aggressor, and providing dignified path to peace. With international law, we may reach to peace, but without international law, probably we not. Let us not forget that International Court of Justice, ICJ, and the International Criminal Court, ICC, they are also weak. They may be weak. but still issue judgment and are still legal authorities, and public opinion think about those rulings, discuss about those rulings, discuss about those judgments. And that's going to be very important. At the U.S. International Law Institute, we are committed to translating the language of international law for you, to develop this language for everyone. In future programs, we'll explore topics such as foundation and the structure of international law topics such as cyber law, the law of sea, space law, international trade law, even international sport law, international criminal law, and legal analysis of ongoing wars. So, this kind of brief video, actually, if this brief analysis was useful to you, be sure to subscribe my channel, US International Law channel, ring the bell, and leave us your thoughts on the place of law in today's world. We'll review all your comments for ideas for future videos. I am Ahmad Torabi, the founder of U.S. International Law Institute, and this is the Center of International Legal Analysis. Until next video, hoping for a more law-abiding world. Thank you, and see you in my next video.